Can I
Um,
ask a question, or is it okay?
yes, oh,
Oh,
please.
okay. Is it like, how's it organized? Did you mix up your 12 years, or you kept them each by, did you mix up the themes or keep them each by year?
so I kept, so uh, each year that I did it, those 30 or so
Mhm.
items all stayed together, but they were not necessarily in the order. Like there wasn't 2012, 13, 14. They weren't in order.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but each time I blogged each year, there was a theme. So they needed to stay together. So the thing that of course is interesting is that there are 26 letters in the alphabet and there's 30 or 31 days in a month in general. And
Oh,
so what I did was I started using combinations of letters called digraphs that are specific, like TH and SH, they make unique sounds. And
oh,
so
okay.
WH and TH, SH, PH. So I had enough letters to get me
Oh,
through the
yeah.
months that were longer. So that was how I kind of made that happen.
There were two, I think there were two T's in February, though. There was a twice T
Well,
February.
it could be a T or a T and then a
Even a
TH
TH, okay. Oh, I didn't notice. I'll have to look back.
because
Ah,
that's a different sound, a th versus a
ah,
t. So anyway, that was how I came up with a way to make sure that every day had something.
cool.
Um, so one of the things that was really interesting to me in putting this together, which addresses kind of questions that people have about writing and writers, um, is that when I looked at some of the material from previous years, I had no recollection of having written those words. None whatsoever. Now, you could call that like a senior moment, but I also think that sometimes words come to us or through us, and we're writing and it comes. And so it's kind of more like inspiration or whatever. So I have really enjoyed going through these again and seeing what's in there, which makes me feel like, okay, so if I read through this and I kind of follow it through the year, I'm happy to start again next year. This doesn't have to be a 1 year thing. Um, and like you were saying, Roland, you might not follow this all year, but you might open it up and say, oh gosh, I could use a little something. What day is today? And then you pull it open and you say, oh, that works pretty good. Or maybe it doesn't, but it's um, but honestly, I looked at some of them and I said, I wrote this? Wow, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. I've had that feeling before, which you
And
surprise yourself
yes,
afterwards.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I will say my sister has a book similar to that, and she'll conjure a number will pop in her head, and then she'll go to that page in the book. So that's another good way to do it, even if you
hmm
don't want to go right by the
hmm
day,
hmm Yeah, yeah,
like an
yeah.
oracle book.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, also, can you talk to about joy? The word joy is in your book a lot. I marked it, but yeah, because it's Joy Day.
hmm Right.
Tell
So,
about
right. So the idea was that it's not like Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, but it's a joy day, and that every day could be a day that's joyous. Um, and maybe these inspirations would help us get there. So trying to find a path to maintain that in each day and uh, keep it with us.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good thought to have that sort of time too, to reflect, like, oh,
Mhm,
reflect, think about, okay, I'm gonna make
mhm,
this a joyous day. How am I gonna do that? Yeah.
mhm,
There's one, I think it's the joy one, maybe, that you talk about. Like maybe we shouldn't listen to the news right away in the first thing in the morning, when we get up. We maybe we should think about having something happy happen, right? Is that what you do say that somewhere? I know.
Yeah, I do. I'm sure I do. I mean, it's something I have said. What day it's on, I don't know, but yeah. And actually, in some ways, that was one of the challenges of having written them in different years. The positive part of that is that there really wasn't a lot of repeat in style or wording or something. Like each month is really kind of fresh because there was a whole year between when I wrote each one. But on the other hand, I have some pet peeves or like certain things that are really important to me. And so I noticed when I was putting them together that there were a couple things that came up a little too often. And so I did go back and kind of clean those up. There's still a few in there where I kind of say the same thing in different months, but
Wow.
it
Now,
was interesting.
Can you talk a little bit about that? So you're changing all the time each year, and it's new and fresh every year, but you are also recognizing themes in your own life, right? That you come to again and again. Is that right?
Yeah. And I think we probably all have those. We all have like a real core belief that we're going to stick with, and it's really helped us, and we want to make sure that we share that so other people can consider it as an option. And I have a really strong focus on nature and the environment and connecting with nature, and a number of those repeat in there, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, repetition can help remind us, the thing over and over again. But
No, I enjoyed that. I would never think of that as something to be avoided, but it interests me because I think there's a lot of wisdom that writers bring to their work and share. And here you're talking about wisdom, and these little pieces of thought, little distractions from our normal day-to-day activities are kind of helpful, I think, in that way. And but as a writer, if you're repeating yourself, or if you feel like you're repeating yourself, and is that, may I use this word, deleterious or not?
I think several of them stayed in there, but when I maybe use the same story more than once, or it was like, I can say this in a different way and still get the point across. So that was worth changing. I had certain I have quotes from lots of different kinds of people. And I noticed that I was quoting from one person multiple times. I was like, okay, that's too much. I should spread it out a little more. So if you go back and look at the original posts, comparing them to the book, they're not 100% identical, but it's probably 95, 98% exactly how I posted stuff when I first wrote them.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And they're so contemporary. I can't get over that. They're old.
Well, it's funny though, because one of my friends opened it up, and that particular month, we're in April, and it was April 6th, and the one in there is eggs. It's about eggs. And my first sentence is that eggs are an economic way to obtain complete protein. He goes, not anymore.
Yeah.
The price of eggs is not economical anymore. You wrote this before. But I think that's one of the rare examples of things that have changed.
But I think also with the links and different things, that's very contemporary. Will that last? Will it go into the future?
Right. Will those links last forever? I don't know. But in some of them, I wanted to make it clear that this was not just my opinion about the nutritional value of these foods, for example. Or there's there's one here, a section on activities that can contribute to a good life. And I researched that to see if other people felt that this thing was actually helpful for us. So I put that source down.
Yeah,
Whether they still continue, and that's for June. If that's still Blink still is live, in 10 years, I don't know. But it conveys at least that these are research based or documented somehow. It's not just me
right.
jumping away.
You're not alone. There's somebody who shares your point of view.
And a more authoritative point of, source. So
There you go. Information
Yeah.
sources that you can trust. And
Yes,
information
yes.
literacy, we all need to know information literacy. And getting back to that.
Right, right.
I have in October, you have quoted John O'Donohue. Oh my goodness. Oh, one of my favorite poets. And I the eternal echoes. Wow. This is really good. Thank you for having
Right. So October was the month was the year that I had the pandemic activities. And so the quote from him, since Kristen, you haven't seen a book, but it talks
I'd
about
love to
how,
hear it.
well, it's a long paragraph, but it says
Okay.
each one of us is alone in the world. And it takes great courage to meet the full force of your aloneness. And then it goes on. So it talks about being alone. And so, like I said, I focused on independent activities, but I felt like his quote at the time during the pandemic was helpful in our isolation, our ability to isolate. And it's like, okay, we're all really alone. It's just, we usually think we're not, and this feels really uncomfortable and we feel isolated. And okay, here's a different way to look at it. And his writing is always beautiful. So it's gorgeously stated, and it's like, oh yeah, that sounds good, even though it's
What is his name again? Do you mind telling me the poet?
John
Okay.
O'Donohue.
John
O'Donohue.
Okay.
And there's
So
and whenever he read his own, I mean, he has some YouTube videos with his, oh my gosh, his accent, the Irish accent is so lovely.
I use quotes from him when I do some of my hikes, because he has a wonderful poem about the river and how it just goes down to the source. It doesn't worry about it, and it just, flows. And so I do hikes along the Connecticut River, and I read sections of his poem on that too. So
love that.
Yeah, he has some really wonderful pieces, and he wrote this wonderful book called Aram Cara. Are you familiar with that, Beth?
no.
I don't know that I'm ready really to talk about it. It's such a beautiful book, though. If ARAMCARA, and it means soul friend. And it's a wonderful meditation on, the quality of friendship and what friendship means. And
oh, cool.
It's just a beautiful, beautiful book.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, and he says here, if I continue, no longer on the run from your aloneness, your connections with others become real and creative. You no longer need to covertly scrape affirmation from others or from projects outside yourself. This is slow work. It takes years to bring your mind home.